Today we're doing math pages 133 and 134. Hebrews 3:5, and put this up because we've been talking about the different phobias. We've been talking about these different phobias in math lately, and so if you're walking in fear, hopefully this verse encourages you if there's anything that you're scared of or nervous about going on in your life. For he, and it's talking about God himself, has said, I will not in any way fail you, nor give you up, nor leave you without support. I will not in any degree leave you helpless, nor forsake, nor let you down, nor relax my hold on you. Assuredly not. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started looking at class practice. Today we're doing dry measures. And in the yellow box at the top, it's got some information that's going to help us get started here. First one, 1A, is review. 1 year is going to be 12 months. 1B, 1 kilogram is how many grams? Remember, kilo is 1,000, so it's 1,000 grams. 1C is 1 day. How many hours? 1 day has 24 hours. It says 1 peck is how many quarts? This one is up here. 1 peck is 8 quarts. One gallon is how many quarts? That one's right there. 1 gallon is 4 quarts. One meter is how many centimeters? Remember, centa, 100. G, 1 yard is how many feet? 1 yard would be 3 feet. And H, 1 bushel is how many pecks? 1 bushel is 4 pecks. So these are some that you're going to have to start learning, memorizing, because you won't always have this at the top of your page. We look at 2A, it tells us to reduce these fractions. 2A, we have 4 over 6. 4 6. What goes into both 4 and 6? What number goes into both 4 and 6? 2 does. So we divide the top number, 4 by 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. And the bottom number, 6, we divide that by 2. 2 goes into 6 3 times. And our reduced answer is 2/3. B, what is the highest number that goes into 3 and 6? 3 does. 3 goes into 3 1 time, and 3 goes into 6 2 times. You get half. C, what's your GCF, greatest common factor, for 5 and 15? What is the greatest number that goes into 5 and 15? 5 is. 5 goes into 5 1 time, and 5 goes into 15 3 times. D, we have 4 over 10, 4 tenths. What's your GCF for 4 and 10, the highest number that goes into both 4 and 10? It's going to be 2. And 2 goes into 4 2 times, 2 goes into 10 5 times. And you get 2/5 for your answer. Let's look at the story problem together. So skip 3, let's go down to 4, and it tells us to solve these story problems. 4A, in one Bible bookstore, one children's Bible costs $9.95. How much would 17 cost? So to figure out this answer, we have to take our $9.95 and multiply it by 17. Now 4b is going to help us for the first time in a story problem use what we have at the top of the page with the dry measures. We're going to use that now. Let's look at 4b. Mr. McGregor sold 40 bushels of potatoes. One peck sold for $1.95. How much did all the potatoes cost? Well, we know that one peck was $1.95. We also know that he sold 40 bushels. For each bushel that he sold, now remember 4 pecks at the top. 4 pecks equals 1 bushel. So to figure out how much 1 bushel would be, we need to figure out 195 times 4, because that would be how much 1 bushel would be. When you multiply those together, you get $7.80. Now, we know that he sold 40 bushels. 1 bushel would be $7.80. He sold 40 of them. So we need to take this number and multiply it by 40 to get our answer. Go ahead and flip the page over and look down at 8. 8 says to divide and write the remainder as a fraction, to reduce if necessary. Alright, so we're going to divide here. 3 goes into 4 one time. 3 times 1 is 3. Now we'll subtract. We get 1. We need to bring down the 7. And 3 goes into 17 5 times. 3 times 5 is 15. We're going to subtract and we get 2 as our remainder. But the directions told us to write the remainder as a fraction. So remember, the 2 needs to go on top. And the divisor of 3 needs to go on the bottom. And our answer, since 2/3 can't be reduced, our answer is 15 2/3. Let's look at B. 4 does not go into 1, but it does go into 18 4 times. 4 times 4 is 16. We subtract and we get 2. So our 2 goes on top and our 4 goes on the bottom. All I've done is I've taken that 2, put it there, and the 4 there. This one can be reduced. And in the directions it said reduce if necessary, and I want you guys reducing whenever possible. So what goes into both the 2 and 4? And that's how we're going to figure out what the reduced answer is for our numerator and our denominator. 2 goes into both 2 and 4. 2 goes into 2 one time, and 2 goes into 4 2 times. And now our reduced answer is 4.5. I'll have you guys do the rest of what we didn't get done. I need you, though, to be able to do that to understand some more phobias. I'm going to have you guys match some more phobias. Here's the phobias we're going to look at today. Laterophobia, nyctophobia, ombrophobia, autophobia, and pecatophobia. Pecatophobia. I'm guessing how you pronounce these names, but here we go. So you'll have a chance to look at some possible matching phobia definitions, and you'll have to decide which ones match up. And here we have the possible matching definitions. Fear of doctors, fear of night, fear of rain, fear of sinning, and fear of opening their eyes. All right, let's go ahead and see if we can match these up. Okay, let's do the first one. Latrophobia. Who thinks, raise your hand if you think it's the fear of doctors. Raise your hand if you think it's the fear of night. Raise your hand if you think it's the fear of rain. Raise your hand if you think it's the fear of sinning. And raise your hand if you think it's the fear of opening eyes. Latrophobia is the fear of doctors. The fear of doctors. Okay, now we'll do the second one. Nitrophobia. Raise your hand if you think it's the fear of night. Raise your hand if you think it's the fear of rain. Raise your hand if you think it's the fear of sinning. And raise your hand if you think it's the fear of opening eyes. Nitrophobia is the fear of night. The fear of night. Okay, next one. Ombrophobia. Who thinks it's the fear of rain? Raise your hand if you think it's the fear of sinning. And raise your hand if you think it's the fear of opening eyes. Ombrophobia is the fear of rain. The fear of rain. They're all straight across so far. I don't know. Let's see if this one is too. Autophobia. Raise your hand if you think it's the fear of sinning. And raise your hand if you think it's the fear of opening eyes. Autophobia is the fear of opening one's eyes. And so, pecatophobia is the fear of sinning. The fear of sinning. Okay, we're going to do 5 more phobias. And see if you can try to guess these ones. Look at this picture. Well, that makes me want to have. Remember, we learned about this. This was the first phobia that we learned about. Arachnophobia. Whoa. Alright. Okay, here's the phobias we're going to look at. Cytophobia. Taphophobia. Thalassophobia. Trichophobia. And vestophobia. And here's our possible answers. Fear of clothing, fear of hair, fear of the ocean, fear of being buried alive, and fear of food. And we'll look first at cytophobia. We'll look at cytophobia. Alright. Who thinks cytophobia is the fear of clothing? Raise your hand if you think it's fear of clothing. Raise your hand if you think it's fear of hair. Raise your hand if you think it's fear of the ocean. Raise your hand if you think it's fear of being buried alive. And raise your hand if you think it's fear of food. Cytophobia is fear of food. Kind of funny, it goes right through her mouth. Fear of food. Next one. Taphophobia. Raise your hand if you think it's fear of clothing. Raise your hand if you think it's fear of hair. Raise your hand if you think it's fear of the ocean. And raise your hand if you think it's fear of being buried alive. Taphophobia would be fear of being buried alive. Okay, third one. Thalassophobia. Who thinks it's fear of clothing? Who thinks it's fear of hair? And who thinks it's fear of the ocean? This one would be fear of the ocean. Thalassophobia. Okay, and then trichophobia. Who thinks that's fear of clothing? And who thinks that's fear of hair? The correct answer is fear of hair. And bastophobia would be fear of clothing. Go ahead and do the rest on your own. You can do it. You guys are so smart.